Well, because I've been doing this for more than 30 years now, I can tell you, as you mentioned earlier, that we get molded into a society, and there are certain rules and regulations, and we learn how to, behave properly and obey and do what we are told. And if we're told that menopause is a horrible event in our life and we need to suffer through it, and we do have medication available that takes this away, then we're basically feeding the old system of let's just give the pharmaceutical companies a good amount of money because that way the economy is running and so on.
Welcome to Mother Nature's Doctor, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets modern wellness. Hosted by Dr. April Schulte, a specialist in Chinese medicine, this show explores the power of nature as the ultimate healer. Each week, Dr. Schulte dives into a new health topic, revealing how holistic practices, herbal medicine, and time-tested natural remedies can help you live a healthier, more balanced life. Get ready to nourish your body, calm your mind, and reconnect with the wisdom of Mother Nature.
Welcome to Season 2 of Mother Nature's Doctor. I'm Dr. April Schulte, Doctor of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine, and I'm here to help you rediscover the art of radiant longevity. This season, we're celebrating the beauty of aging well, nourishing vitality, confidence, and natural glow at every stage of life. From ancient wisdom to modern holistic science, we'll explore how to live youthfully and thrive through Mother Nature's guidance. And for our first episode of Mother Nature's Doctor, Season 2, I'm so happy to welcome Dr. Markus Wettstein to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Dr. Markus Wettstein is an endocrinologist with over 30 years of experience in hormone health and metabolic medicine. Known for his integrative and patient-centered approach, Dr. Wettstein blends the precision of Western endocrinology with an openness to holistic and lifestyle-based strategies. His work focuses on optimizing hormone balance, supporting healthy aging, and empowering patients to take an active role in their wellness journey. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much, April, and thank you for inviting me on your show. I really appreciate the opportunity, and it sounds like we got some very interesting information to share today. So
we do. We're learning together, right? As we've been coming together
right.
Professionally to help our clients.
I personally call it my new frontier because, Western and Eastern medicine have already, in the past, always been very separate. And it is time to unify that because the benefit to the patient is what drives me into that direction of unification of those two systems to be able to supply the patient with what they need. At this stage in my career, I basically have done enough of the hormonal system to have a pretty good grasp of it. And it is time to utilize that to see if we can, like I said before, integrate the Western and Eastern ideas of how to deliver healthcare.
As a doctor of acupuncture and Oriental medicine, and having been in practice for now 21 years, I can say that the construct of Eastern medicine, per se, Chinese medicine in and of itself, inherently combines the idea of the organs being related to one another and our emotions affecting each organ system, and then therefore relating to the environment in different ways. And when we start to connect all of the pieces, it actually becomes quite natural to combine the paradigm of Western medicine and endocrinology with Chinese medicine in that way. And it's occurring to me, we might even want to define what endocrinology is. A lot of my clients still are unclear exactly what endocrinology is.
Sure, absolutely. The idea of endocrinology is combining all the systems that have to do with hormonal regulation in the body. So endocrinology takes care of the pituitary gland, the thyroid gland, adrenal glands, ovaries, and testicles. So everything that secretes hormone is under this umbrella. And it's basically, the way I look at it, is a communication system. Hormones are secreted in one location of the body, and they give information to far away organ systems and direct their activity that way. Basically, information exchange. And when you're talking about information, we have our internal information system, which is basically the nervous system and the hormonal system. And then we have the integration into the external environment through, I would say, the energy system. And the energy system for me is basically how I try and wrap my head around the Eastern aspect of medicine. So energy flow in the body is very important. Problems in that department do frequently evolve into medical allopathic diseases. And so integration of those two would give the patient the opportunity to intervene early and try not to develop all these diseases that we would have to treat the hard way later in life.
You bring up such a good point about preventive medicine. And what I'm hearing you say is that energy medicine is one gateway into understanding preventive medicine at a deeper level. Allopathically, which means more traditionally as we think of Western medicine, tends to think of preventive medicine as scans or different diagnostic tools to make sure we detect a disease early. Where in our medicine, we think of going really into the root of a problem, that energetic imbalance, which again could be hormonally driven, it could be environmentally driven, it could be emotionally driven, often kicked off by some sort of trauma, whether it's a physical or an emotional trauma in a life, that can lead toward eventually a diagnostic disease from Western medicine standpoint. By the time we are so sick that Western medicine can actually make a diagnosis, we are pretty far gone. And it's empowering to know that we can delve deeper into the system, look earlier on at the energy within a system to prevent those diseases from even happening in the first place.
Exactly. And science, luckily, has evolved to a point at this stage that we can actually detect this energy. That was impossible in the past, and so everybody was basically brushing energy medicine, so to say, aside because there was no tangible scientific approach to this. That has changed through an offspring from Kirlian photography. And we do utilize cameras now to identify energy flow in the body. And these modalities basically give you a bridge between what I would call the Western allopathic medicine and the Eastern approach of things. It makes it easier for somebody like me, who was born and raised sort of a hardcore scientist, to open the eyes to the understanding that this is our body is not just a collection of about 50 trillion cells, and they interact smoothly, and it's a community that works humming along until something breaks, and then we have to jump in and fix it. It's much more refined than that if you're starting to fold in the energetic component of this system.
Everything is energy.
Yes.
So certainly you exude an energy, I exude an energy, and when we come together, those two energies interact. And depending on what I'm bringing to the table that day in my own energetic system, and then therefore what you bring to the table, really creates this current moment and how our interaction right now is going. And as both of us as doctors and helping patients every day, we understand that effect with our clients. And certainly within family dynamics, that's a thing. And then you and I were talking before the podcast about sort of the worldly dynamics going on a little bit about how we can be so separated.
Right.
And the truth is, we can see the power through energetic medicine And even allopathic medicine, we actually can come together in that way. And so our talk can be expanded from health just to general wellness in society.
And that is because, like you mentioned, as far as my understanding goes at this point, is that energy is the universal presence that essentially dictates everything and connects us all. Connects us all between each other, connects us all into the universe, connects us all everywhere. And so the point with energy, understanding that concept, gives you more of an opportunity, and my personal opinion there is to express the thinking that consciousness is this universal energy. And so the scientific endeavor to assign anything in your body to the generation of consciousness is completely futile and will never result in any understanding unless you are willing to take the leap and realize that energy is basically everything, consciousness, and then you can basically talk about individual consciousness, group consciousness, universal consciousness, and understand what really drives all of us. And if we tap into this energy and just give ourselves the opportunity to allow that thought process into our body, we automatically get the connection that we deserve. And that makes life, generally speaking, so much easier.
And healthier.
Absolutely.
Still our clients aren't coming to us typically and saying, help me tap into my consciousness. Mm-hmm. I'd like to tap into my inner power to help myself heal to its fullest. Mm-hmm. Most clients are still coming in and saying, I'm noticing hot flashes. I have anxiety. I have a thyroid condition. I have, extreme fatigue. And within those constructs, we are able to draw parallels between what Western allopathic medicine has to offer and what traditional Chinese medicine has to offer. And that's where this magic is happening. It's really invigorated me as a clinician.
Same here, yes.
It's been really fun. So let's break down the whole idea of perimenopause, because right now, or menopause in general, right now, hormone replacement therapy is an it topic. It's completely, what's the word to describe?
In vogue right now?
Yeah, it's in vogue. I like it. That's very fashionable. It's in vogue right now to discuss hormone replacement therapy. Yeah. And it's certainly been one of the biggest topics of discussion you and I have come across clinically working together with our clients. From a Chinese medicine perspective, we want to be able to live within nature at a very parallel to what nature has to offer. And aging is a very natural process.
Correct.
And so that doesn't mean that we have to suffer, however.
Right.
It doesn't mean, once we hit menopause, suddenly we're going to have painful intercourse and anxiety and insomnia and depression and weight gain. It doesn't necessarily mean that, although that's sort of what we're being taught and impressed upon us, that in order to not have those things happen, we need hormone replacement therapy. From my perspective, for most people, that is just not true. Because we can break down each individual woman and look at her constitution, if you will, and decide, does this person have what we call yin deficiency, which is a general dryness in the system that doesn't have a lot to do with hydration, but more to do with those nourishing aspects of the body? Has she learned how to take care of herself, how to love herself, how to nourish herself? Is she drinking coffee on the regular, which dries out the system? Is her body just dry in general? That gives rise to a lot of heat. It's like a piece of wood that's really well nourished. That's going to be harder to catch that wood on fire. Whereas a really dry piece of wood is going to be easy to catch on fire. It's not going to take much of a spark to get that thing to light up. And so from that perspective, we can nourish the yin, if you will, by eating yin nourishing foods. Food is medicine. We can use foods that are slippery in nature, for example, eggs, asparagus, okra, oysters, seeds, seaweed. All of those foods are very yin nourishing. And then I'll ask the client to avoid things like coffee And it's not caffeine, it's the coffee bean itself that's very hot-natured. Every substance that we have around us that we can take in as food or drink has a nature associated with it. And so the coffee bean in and of itself is very, very hot. So if a yin deficient person were to have, say, an ice cold decaffeinated coffee, they're still going to have their wood, if you will, easily catch on fire, giving rise to symptoms of heat rising, hot flashes, hypertension, allergies, insomnia, anxiety. All of those things can be rooted in yin deficiency. From your perspective, and your training as an endocrinologist, are known for their hormone evaluation. It certainly is important to women.
Well, because I've been doing this for more than 30 years now,
I can tell you, as you is
very important to hormonally
get molded into the society.
and also have their
rules and
hormone picture going on. Another hot topic, testosterone replacement. And again, from a Chinese medicine standpoint,
we're told that menopause is a horrible event in our life, and we need to suffer through it. And we do have medication available that takes this away.
Its functionality.
Then we're basically
in the body is that
the old system
more than in women, we consider it to be more blood. And so for with testosterone deficiency symptoms, I might see it within my practice.
A very sad
low libido,
taking
erectile
away
dysfunction,
of
feeling tired.
individuals,
What would you say
persons,
to men who
creating
have those symptoms?
ability
Would you
to make their
fit it
own
into the
choices.
paradigm
They
of
get
allopathic
pushed
medicine?
into something.
and then
So here again,
medication
testosterone levels naturally
Medication.
decline while of an
and-
age. And so there comes an inflection point where it does affect the system generally. So we notice that we are not 21 years old anymore. This is not as impressive a change as it is menopausal or perimenopausally, where the estrogen level drops significantly right away. This is a slow, progressive situation. And the question there is, what is the generator of a more acute and severe decline in testosterone that typically, because of the rate of change, is more apparent to guys? All of a sudden they say, oh, I can't do this anymore. I don't have the energy. My muscles are melting away. Those type of things are all associated with testosterone deficiency. And here again, just like with estrogen, I can jump in there and supply testosterone to patients. The dark side is prostate cancer. So all of these things do have the dark side: estrogen with the breast cancer and the uterine cancer, testosterone with prostate cancer. So they are not to be taken lightly. And when I talk to guys, I do notice that there is a stress accumulation in their body over the years. And very frequently we see the body, because of this stress, needing extra energy. That extra energy, when the body as a whole, 50 trillion cells are working together, are looking for resource allocation. They say, we don't really need an erection, and we do not need to expel sperm, which is a very expensive resource. Let's just slow that down. And the energy for the production of testosterone goes into healing whatever causes the dampening of their energy profile in the first place. So I see stress, I see adrenal fatigue, which is a topic that I shouldn't really mention because it's not recognized by allopathic medicine at this point in time. A lot of different generators for a low testosterone level that can be mitigated by addressing the underlying issue, rather than jumping into medication dispensation and risking serious side effects.
I appreciate hearing your perspective on stress. From Chinese medicine perspective, we say the kidneys, which I would really like to impress upon our listeners that I'm not talking about the function of kidneys that we typically think of with what kidneys do in our body. In Chinese medicine, kidneys are a root source of energy, qi, bigger for life. And we say they rule the reproductive system, they rule the bones, they rule the brain. And so when our kidney storage, our kidney qi, if you will, has been tapped out, then one of the first things we're going to see to go is reproductive function. And even in younger women and men, infertility can largely often be blamed on this idea of kidney Qi deficiency, where by the time we're even 30 years old, we're already completely tapped out. We're overstimulated, we're overstressed. We haven't learned how to ameliorate the stresses in our body so that our body doesn't have that extreme stress reaction. Would you say that in women, we're pretty emotional creatures. We tend to share our emotions more. With men, I feel I'm a woman, I can feel that men might stuff their emotions more, and then it sort of becomes the frog in boiling water scenario where you're not even aware that you're having an increased stress level.
Absolutely. So the big problem being raised as a boy is you have to behave certain ways. And just for comparison, the testosterone level in males is 10 times as high. If I were to give you testosterone at my level tomorrow, you'd be flying off the handle and would be completely non-functional. So guys have to have the power to suppress the male sexual aggression. That is a full-time job, and in this society, because what are we designed for? Run around and spread our wild oats, so to say. That's the general nature design of things, and living in a society, we have to do a lot of suppression. That takes a lot of energy, that takes a lot of stress, that takes a lot of discipline. A lot of people don't really want to spend the time to do that. Then throw in toxins like alcohol and so on, and that testosterone comes roaring out of the body. And people misbehave in a major league way. So you can tell dysregulation from alcohol with frontal inhibition, which is basically the area where you make the decision to calm yourself down. If you can't do that anymore, that's why alcohol is such a problem in society, especially for the male population. So women are a heck of a lot more sensitive. They do have, from a testosterone and aggression perspective, a much lower level, but living that life all the time, if you were to change that, you have a much higher sensitivity to these changes. So for guys, it takes a whole lot more. Guys are supposed to not complain, and so they don't go to the doctor unless there is a serious problem. Like, for instance, if the prolactin goes up and boys develop breasts and have milk discharge, they will knock down my door. But until that happens, there are many, many warning signs that are just blown aside because life is life, and we have to do our thing. And so that's where the problem arises. It's a societal problem, and it's an internal problem with regards to the expression of these hormone deficiencies.
Within just this one discussion about sex hormones in men and women, I'm seeing again the innate ability of our body to heal. We have an innate wisdom within us. And so, as you mentioned, our personal bodies will recognize that our sexual function is not the first thing in line for keeping us alive.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, in a much grander scale of things, procreation certainly is the driver of what's going to keep us going.
Right.
And so it's kind of fun to kind of step back and take that 1,000-foot view of what's going on innately within Mother Nature's realm to keep us all going.
Yes, absolutely. And so from that perspective, it is always a nice way to think of this. If it's broken, we can fix it. If it is in excess, we can block it. All of this stuff we can do after a workup with, hormonal checks and so on. But don't forget the power of the individual, and there are many instances where people can help themselves.
I like what you said. It's almost like it disempowers the client at a very root level to think that they are not in charge of their own healthcare, that they don't know their bodies like they do. And really my biggest passion right now, and the reason the reason I do this podcast, is to help all of us understand it's an innate human power we have to heal ourselves.
And that is the thing that I discovered myself and realized, and now it's the time to proliferate that into our clients or patients, to make sure that they understand that they do have a lot more power than they were raised to believe. This is the universal power that we were talking about earlier, and the ability to tap into it. And once you have that understanding that you do have that power, you are going to be able not to rely on external factors. Yes, if you have horrible hot flashes, estrogen will make those go away. Yay, perfect. The problem is the dark side. All medications have side effects, and the real dark side of estrogen therapy is breast cancer and uterine cancer. And that is, as far as I'm concerned, a serious problem, and that should be disclosed. But when you're raised in allopathic medicine, you don't see the alternatives. So what are you going to do? You're trying to help your patient. So what is available? Well, I've learned that works. And yes, my patients tell me it does work. Let's prescribe it. The full disclosure of an understanding that patients can help themselves with a little bit of coaxing from us is completely brushed aside. And that is the message that I have to give today, that patients are much more powerful, and they should really explore that power and get themselves into a situation where, with a little bit of help, not pharmaceuticals, you're going to wind up getting through the problems that sometimes even are, like you mentioned, resolvable with a boost in the emotions of a patient.
Right. So to play devil's advocate and sort of turn the table a little bit, I will say that pharmaceuticals certainly do have a place. I still believe that, even though the longer I practice, the more I see they actually have less of a place than I thought. But I can still see the benefits of occasional use of hormone replacement therapy in someone who is so down and out they can't function. It might take us a few years even to balance their system with herbs and food and working on their emotional state and their behavioral habits and how they understand themselves, and as they learn to tap into their own healing power. Sometimes medications and hormones can be a very nice gap bridge so that we can provide a little bit of relief in the client while we do that underlying work. Because healing happens, you mentioned the nervous system earlier. I believe healing happens when the nervous system is nice and calm. And if we're so jammed up with feeling terrible, then we literally don't have room in the system to heal. And some of my other colleagues wouldn't agree with me even on, take someone who has severe back pain. Sometimes I'm a fan of that cortisone shot. Mm-hmm. If it just opens the system up so that we can get in there and get some other work done. If we're in so much pain, it's hard to get in there and get anything done.
Yes, and I agree with you, and I'm sorry if I came across trying to knock allopathic medicine. It's my bread and butter, and I've been doing it for more than 30 years, so I just want to, so coming from that angle, I know medications, I know biochemistry, I know everything that has to do with prescribing medications, including side effects and so on. And I totally agree with you. There are things where our body is broken and we need to move in there and fix it. And that's what allopathic medicine is all about. The point is that in the delivery, we started to get away from the care in healthcare. And that portion is even more devastating to the patient because now they feel like they're treated like a number instead of having individualized care. And through that situation, then we have a rift, and instead of working actively together. And the rift don't matter if your arm is broken and you need to reset it. Now, that's just very clearly what you have to do, and there's no two ways about it. But when it comes to energy flow in the body and an understanding of the hormonal system of the body and how things are sometimes overused and break, sometimes the immune system intervenes and things break, that's when we have to move in and patch things up to keep the body going. But I am looking for, at the same time, delivering this patient the opportunity to help themselves, because the interaction between practitioners and the patient has way, way better outcomes than if you do this, hey, take this prescription and see me in a month.
Collaboration between practitioners is of utmost importance, and it's an art form that has fallen by the wayside quite largely. However, you and I have been able to find a way, and we're still learning how to cultivate our methods of working together for our clients, along with other modalities.
Mm-hmm.
And part of taking our power as patients is to cultivate that team of practitioners ourselves. I'm very encouraging of our clients, if they don't have it so lucky as our clients here do, where all of your practitioners from various modalities, or at least many of them, can be under the same roof, and where collaboration is a top priority, to take the reins yourself and ask your practitioners to collaborate on your behalf and start to understand yourself, how your mental, emotional state, the different toxins, your history of trauma, your musculoskeletal alignment, your hormones, how it all can work together to help yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the idea there is that if we are able to get this model back in place, then we actually, in my book, are delivering healthcare again. Caring the patient and having their health in mind and all together moving in the same direction is the way forward.
This is such a powerful message, and it's occurring to me on a wonderful closing sort of idea and statement. What I'm realizing you and I have done in our podcast today is we've actually been able to step into each other's shoes and defend the other's perspective and training when it comes to medicine.
Exactly.
For 20 plus years, I have been finding myself defending my stance, if you will, when it comes to my perspective on health. And now I see myself defending your training, and I'm hearing you defend my training.
That's right.
And truly, this is how we're going to come together.
Exactly. Understanding each other and having the willingness in the first place to have an open mind, not to go antagonistic, but to go collaborative. And that is, for myself, honestly, in the healthcare system, I pretty much got burned out. As an endocrinologist, you don't make much money. You're not looked at by the administration as a value. And so from that perspective, it was a very antagonistic situation. Bring into the fold the antagonism towards anything that's not allopathic medicine, and we really have sort of this isolated situation. And so, yes, I totally agree that if we are doing this together, including the patient, and we are, or the client, then we are going to be able to have much better outcomes.
I'd like to extend my deepest gratitude for you joining me on this episode of Mother Nature's Doctor, and would like our clients to know where to reach you and our listeners to know where to reach you.
Yeah, so because this is a new endeavor, I just started with a web page, and that is workable at this point in time, and giving you an introduction on the energy medicine aspect and the allopathic medicine side by side. The website is the HTTPS and then / and then Wettstein Endocrinology, so that's my last name, and endocrinology all strung together .com. And that would be the place to get to know us a little bit easier. And
to reach you by phone number at Healing Horizons Integrated Health Solution?
I don't have that phone number off the top of my head. Please help me out with that. It's not the 20 years worth of using that phone number. So
you can find Markus Wettstein, Dr. Markus Wettstein, at wettsteinendocrinology.com. That's his last name, strung together with the word endocrinology.com, or at Healing Horizons Integrated Health Solutions. Thank you so much.